Slab City, the last free place in America? Imagine a place where the rules of society dissolve like mirage in the desert heat. No rent, no laws, no government, just you, the open sky, and the freedom to live as you choose. Sound like a dream? Or perhaps a nightmare? Deep in California's unforgiving desert lies Slab City, a community that defies every norm of modern life. Known as the last free place in America, it's a haven for rebels, artists, outcasts, and dreamers. But what does freedom truly mean when survival hangs by a thread? Step into this lawless oasis, where creativity thrives amid chaos, and discover a world that challenges everything you thought you knew about society. The birth of a lawless oasis. Slab City wasn't always a symbol of unrestrained freedom. Its origins trace back to a time of rigid order and military precision. In the early 1940s, as World War II raged across the globe, the U.S. government established Camp Dunlap in California's Imperial County. This artillery training base was a critical hub where young soldiers prepared for battles overseas. Nestled in the Sonoran Desert, the sprawling facility buzzed with activity tanks rumbled across the sands, and the crack of gunfire echoed through the arid air. But when the war ended in 1945, Camp Dunlap's strategic importance faded. By 1956, the military had abandoned the site, dismantling buildings and stripping the base of everything valuable. All that remained were the concrete slabs that once anchored the structures, scattered across the desert like forgotten relics of a bygone era. For years, the land lay silent, baking under temperatures that could climb to 122 F-50C. It seemed destined to be reclaimed by the desert, a ghost of its former self. Yet, in the 1960s and 1970s, a new chapter began. The Vietnam War sparked widespread unrest in America, fueling anti-establishment movements and a hunger for alternative ways of living. Drifters, hippies, and those disillusioned with societal constraints started trickling into the abandoned site. They pitched tents, parked trailers, and built makeshift homes on the concrete slabs, giving the place its name, Slab City. What began as a scattering of squatters evolved into a vibrant, if unconventional, community. Artists, veterans, wanderers, and societal outcasts found refuge here. Drawn by the promise of a life free from rules and rent, Slab City became a canvas for those who rejected the mainstream, a place where the only limits were those imposed by nature itself. But how did a former military stronghold transform into a lawless utopia? And what does it take to survive in a place where freedom comes at such a steep cost? A harsh paradise. Slab City is not for the faint of heart. Located in the Sonoran Desert, it's a land of extremes. Daytime temperatures routinely soar past 120 F, turning the air into a furnace that saps strength and willpower. At night, the mercury plummets, leaving residents to contend with bone-chilling cold. There's no running water, no electricity grid, no sanitation system, none of the comforts most take for granted. The nearest town, Nyland, is miles away, and accessing basic supplies requires ingenuity and effort. Homes in Slab City are as eclectic as their inhabitants. Some are cobbled together from scrap wood, metal, and plastic bottles. Others are repurposed trailers or abandoned vehicles. Walls are often adorned with vibrant graffiti or intricate murals, turning the barren landscape into an open-air gallery. But beauty here is hard-won. Without streetlights, nights are pitch black, pierced only by the flicker of campfires or the faint glow of solar-powered lanterns. The desert's silence is occasionally broken by the howl of coyotes or the murmur of late-night conversations. For residents, survival is a daily test of resilience. Water, the lifeblood of any community, is a precious commodity. Most haul it from Nyland or rely on occasional deliveries from sympathetic outsiders. A single gallon can mean the difference between hydration and heatstroke. Food is equally scarce, often limited to canned goods, shared meals, or whatever can be bartered. Electricity, when available, comes from makeshift solar panels or small generators, powering only the bare essentials. Yet, despite these hardships, Slab City thrives on a spirit of adaptability. Residents have honed the art of making do with less, transforming society's cast-offs into functional treasures. Old tires become garden beds, discarded paint cans fuel artistic endeavors, and broken machinery is repurposed for practical use. This resourcefulness is more than a survival tactic, it's a philosophy, a rejection of consumerism in favor of self-reliance. The people of Slab City. Slab City's true heart lies in its people, a mosaic of dreamers and drifters united by their desire to live outside society's bounds. Each resident carries a story, often one of loss, rebellion, or reinvention. Meet Lily, a former gallery artist from Los Angeles who traded the city's glitz for the desert's raw canvas. In I painted what sold, she says, her hands stained with the colors of her latest mural. Here I create for myself. The desert doesn't judge. Then there's Max, a self-proclaimed anarchist whose tattoos tell tales of a life spent defying authority. By day, he repairs bicycles for fellow residents. By night, he gathers with friends around a fire, debating philosophy and the flaws of modern governance. Slab City is proof you don't need laws to live right, he insists. You just need respect. Sarah Nguyen, a quiet woman in her 40s, came to Slab City seeking safety. After escaping an abusive relationship, she found solace in the desert's anonymity. No one asks about your past here, she says softly. You're just free to be. Her small home, built from salvaged wood, is a testament to her determination to rebuild her life. Veteran Tom Rodriguez, scarred by his time in Iraq, finds peace in Slab City's isolation. The world out there is too loud, he says, gazing at the horizon. Here I can hear myself think. Tom spends his days tending a small garden, coaxing life from the arid soil, a quiet act of healing. But not all stories are uplifting. Some residents arrive fleeing legal troubles or personal demons. Not everyone's here for freedom, warns Linda, a wary resident who's seen her share of conflict. Some are just running. Drugs and addiction cast a shadow over parts of the community, a reminder that even in a place of boundless possibility, human struggles persist. Freedom's price. Challenges of a lawless life. Living without rules sounds idyllic, but in Slab City, freedom is a double-edged sword. The absence of law enforcement means residents must police themselves, a task that's easier said than done. Minor disputes over stolen goods or encroached boundaries can escalate quickly. We don't call 911, says James, a longtime resident. We talk it out or we deal with it. He recalls a thief who was confronted by the community and given a choice: return the stolen items or leave. Most choose the former, knowing that banishment is a harsh sentence in the desert. To maintain harmony, Slab City operates on unwritten rules: respect others' space, contribute when you can, and don't stir trouble. Community meetings, held sporadically, address larger issues, from resource sharing to conflict resolution. It's not perfect, admits Mike, a mechanic. But it works because we know we're all we've got. Safety is another constant concern. Without medical facilities nearby, a minor injury can become life-threatening. An elderly resident nearly died from an untreated infection. I had to hitch a ride to Brawley, he says, referring to a town 30 miles away. If I'd waited longer, I wouldn't be here. Residents rely on basic first aid and shared knowledge, but emergencies expose the fragility of their existence. The environment itself is a formidable adversary. The desert's relentless heat can cause dehydration or heat stroke in hours. Dust storms, common in the region, choke the air and bury belongings. Water scarcity forces tough choices: drink, cook, or save it for later. Bathing is a luxury, and sanitation is a makeshift affair, with pit toilets posing health risks. Then there's the environmental consequences of off-grid living. Without a formal waste system, trash piles dot the landscape, some burned, others left to decay. Plastic waste, carried by wind, pollutes the desert, while improper sanitation raises fears of disease. "We try to clean up," says Sarah, who organizes occasional litter drives. "But it's a losing battle without more resources." Creativity in chaos, art as salvation. If Slab City is a battleground for survival, it's also a crucible for creativity. The desert's starkness inspires residents to transform their struggles into art, leaving an indelible mark on the landscape. Nowhere is this more evident than at Salvation Mountain, a vibrant hill covered in colorful murals and biblical messages. Created by Leonard Knight, a drifter with no artistic training, it's a monument to faith and perseverance. Knight arrived in Slab City in 1984 with a simple goal: to proclaim that God is love. After a failed attempt to launch a hot air balloon with his message, he turned to the desert itself. Using mud, straw, and thousands of gallons of donated paint, he sculpted a barren hill into a masterpiece. For nearly 3 decades, he worked under the scorching sun, undeterred by setbacks or skeptics. When authorities threatened to demolish it, claiming it was an environmental hazard, Knight fought back, rallying supporters to preserve his creation. Today, Salvation Mountain is a recognized folk art treasure, drawing visitors from around the globe. Just beyond lies East Jesus, an art installation that's as provocative as its name. Built for society's refuse-rusted cars, shattered electronics, and discarded dulcets, a sprawling maze of sculptures that challenge conventional aesthetics. Wizard, a resident artist, explains, "We take what the world calls junk and give it meaning." A wall of TVs flickers with static, a critique of media overload. A lone armchair, surrounded by broken clocks, symbolizes the community's rejection of societal time constraints. Each piece tells a story of waste, rebellion, and reinvention. Art in Slab City isn't just decoration, it's survival. For residents like Sarah, painting or sculpting is a way to process trauma or find purpose. When you've got nothing, creating something beautiful keeps you alive, she says. The desert, with its endless canvas, becomes a stage for raw, unfiltered expression. The range, where souls connect. As the sun sets, Slab City comes alive at the range, an outdoor stage crafted from scrap materials. Every Saturday night, musicians, poets, and performers gather under a canopy of stars, sharing their talents with an eclectic crowd. Jack, a guitarist, describes it as a place where walls come down. "You don't just play a song," he says. "You bare your heart." The range is more than entertainment, it's a lifeline. In a community where isolation can creep in, these gatherings foster connection. Residents share food, stories, and laughter, forging bonds that sustain them through the desert's trials. Maria, a single mother, organizes communal meals before shows. We all chip in, some bring rice, others potatoes. It's simple, but it's family. These moments of unity highlight Slab City's paradox, a place of rugged individualism where community thrives. Without formal systems, residents rely on mutual support. Mike, the mechanic, fixes generators in exchange for food. Linda teaches gardening tricks to newcomers. This barter economy, rooted in trust, is the glue that holds Slab City together. The fragile future. For all its resilience, Slab City faces existential threats. Its location on government-owned land leaves it vulnerable to eviction. In recent years, rising tourism and media attention have drawn scrutiny from authorities, who see potential for commercial or military development. "We've got no deeds," says Tom, a longtime resident. "But this is our home. Where do we go if they take it?" Environmental concerns compound the challenge. Decades of unregulated living have left scarce piles of trash, contaminated soil, and makeshift sanitation systems that breed health risks. Experts warn that without intervention, the area could become uninhabitable. Residents like Sarah try to mitigate the damage, but their efforts are dwarfed by the scale of the problem. Legal disputes loom as well. As outsiders encroach, tensions rise between those who cherish Slab City's lawlessness and those who seek to impose order. Can this fragile experiment in freedom endure, or is it destined to collapse under external pressures? Slab City is more than a desert outpost. It's a mirror reflecting humanity's deepest desires and fears, lessons from the last free place. It challenges us to question the rules that govern our lives. Are we truly free, or are we bound by invisible chains of expectation? Can we balance personal liberty with collective responsibility? Slab City's residents, through their struggles and triumphs, offer a glimpse of what's possible when we dare to live authentically. You don't need to flee to the desert to find freedom. Slab City's lessons of resilience, creativity, and community can inspire change in our own lives. Perhaps it's about simplifying, sharing, or creating without fear of judgment. Perhaps it's about redefining what matters most. Slab City's story is a paradox, a tale of liberation and limitation woven into the fabric of the desert. It's a place where humanity's best and worst impulses collide, where art rises from ashes and hope persists against all odds. Walking its dusty paths, you feel the weight of its contradictions, the thrill of unbounded possibility, the sting of unrelenting hardship. Slab City doesn't offer easy answers, but it poses questions that linger long after you leave. What does freedom mean to you? And what are you willing to sacrifice for it? As the sun sets over the concrete slabs, casting long shadows across Salvation Mountain, you realize this isn't just a story about a lawless town. It's a story about user dreams, our flaws, our endless quest to find meaning in a chaotic world. Slab City may be the last free place, but its spirit lives in anyone who dares to question, create, and connect. Where will your journey take you next?